orders National Assembly to commence impeachment proceedings against the president. Senators call protesters at National Assembly enemies of democracy. China drums up anti-US policy campaigns in Europe. And in sports, Colombia-England knee-jerker match.
This is ANN News.
I am Rotimi Akintunde. A federal high court in Osogbo, Osun State capital, has ordered the National Assembly to immediately commence impeachment process against President Muhammadu Buhari. The order is based on a lawsuit filed by lawyer Kami Ajibola and human rights activist Suleiman Adeniyi, urging the court to enforce the National Assembly to impeach the president. The two had written to the National Assembly 3 months ago that they need to impeach the president because of alleged constitutional breaches by the president. They went to court when the lawmakers refused to act. They are claiming that the president breached the constitution because he did not possess the basic constitutional requirements that would have qualified him to run for president, win and be sworn in as president. They also allege that President Buhari violated the constitution when he allegedly presented a forged certificate to the National Electoral Commission for the purpose of the 2015 election that brought him into office. Justice Onyetenu ruled in favor of the applicants and ordered that the National Assembly begin the impeachment process against the president. In a democracy, there is room for citizens to react to government actions through protest to express their opinions. Member of a group, Citizens Action to Take Back Nigeria, CATBAN, have just done that, storming the main entrance of the National Assembly to demand the immediate resignation of Senate President Bukola Saraki and the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Yakubu Dogara. The group has accused National Assembly members of siphoning funds meant for constituency projects in their various senatorial districts and constituencies. Members have also shown displeasure at budget padding and illegal insertions in the 2018 budget. Reacting to the protest, senators say the protesters are enemies of progress and enemies of democracy. Deputy Senate President Ike Ekweremadu said the demonstrators are protest contractors and that they were pushed to it by unemployment and poverty. Our correspondent Joseph Steve reports.
The protesters marched to the National Assembly in a bid to have a session with members. They were stopped by heavily armed security personnel, which barricaded the entrance to the complex. The protesters, however, expressed their displeasure over claims the lawmakers tampered with the 2018 budget proposal. They say the action is illegal and a strategy to enrich themselves through the budgeting process. Joseph Steve, ANN Abuja.
Since the idea of state and community police has been bandied around in Nigeria, there has been resistance in government quarters. Now the stance is softening. The Nigerian Senate appears to be warming up to the idea. Reason: security situation in the country is volatile now. Senators cite security situation in the country and the recent massacre of 200 lives in Plateau State. So they have resolved to amend the constitution to make room for the creation of state and community police. The Senate Constitution Review Committee has been mandated to create within 2 weeks a draft amendment to the section of the Constitution relating to the state police. The committee is headed by Deputy Senate President Senator Ike Ekweremadu. The Senate has urged the executive branch to overhaul its security apparatus to enhance security for all Nigerians. It also promised to fast-track action on the police reform bill. French President Emmanuel Macron has said in Lagos on Tuesday that the Africa Shrine is an iconic center for the propagation of African culture, strength and music. He had paid a historic visit to Lagos and to the shrine, musical home of late Afrobeat legend Fela Anikulapo Kuti. It was inaugurating the African Cultural Season 2020, which he said will be hosted in France and funded by African leaders to promote African culture in Europe. Macron said he was glad to be back at the Africa Shrine and that he holds fond memories since his last visit 16 years ago. Lagos State Governor Akinwumi Ambode welcomed Macron to the state and expressed optimism that the historic visit will go a long way to break any barriers between Nigeria and France. He also expressed hope that Macron's visit will foster greater collaboration for economic, social and cultural growth. For years, there has been talk that the Nigerian parliament is the most expensive in the world. Nigerian senators are said to also be the highest paid in the world. Now, a lawsuit is being filed against the National Assembly challenging those running costs. The Federal High Court in Lagos has ordered the service of court processes on the National Assembly on the 13.5 million naira Senate running cost and the 10 million naira for the House of Representatives. The lawsuit is filed by lawyers Monday Ubani and John Uwoku. Hearing on the lawsuit was stalled on Tuesday because the court sheriff failed to serve the processes on the defendants. An Abuja High Court has quashed the indictment against former Minister of Solid Minerals, Kayode Fayemi. He was charged for fraud and a 10-year ban was placed on him for holding a public office. The judge said the section of the 1999 Constitution as amended, under which the lawsuit was filed, was no longer a valid provision because it was lawfully deleted by the First Alteration Act. The High Court further held that citizens can only be indicted by courts of law after trial. Nigerian borders are still being tried by smugglers to evade customs check. 11 trucks laden with foreign rice tried the trick, got through, then was nabbed by Nigeria Customs along Kaduna, Zaria and Kano. The cargo has been confiscated and the culprits apprehended. The Nigeria Customs Command have recently been retooled with new patrol vehicles and other equipment needed to effectively monitor the borders and drastically reduce incidents of smuggling. Special anti-robbery squad in Cross River State has arrested 37 suspected mercenaries at Ukele, a border town between Cross River and Ebonyi states. SARS commanders said the mercenaries are from Anambra State and they claim to have traveled to Ukele to secure charms. The commander says their intention was criminal and that they were in the area to commit felony. We will be back with ANN News after these messages. Stay with us.
Are you sure you want to do this?
Adam, go and bring us your husband. Okay, hello baby.
We're in this together, okay? Can you hear me? Keep coming forward.
Wait, stop.
You okay, lean to your right. Keep walking down. Keep walking to the left. Yes.
You're almost here.
Keep going.
You are here. Wow, you did it.
I'm just so glad I didn't have to use my cane to do this.
And I am so glad no other man got you before me. Let me be your eyes.
We will never stop working to give you a network you can rely on so you can enjoy life's special moments. MTN, everywhere you go.
Are you sure you want to do this?
Adam, go and bring us your husband. Okay, hello baby.
We're in this together, okay? Can you hear me? Keep coming forward.
Wait, stop.
You okay, Lizzie? You alright? Keep walking down. Keep walking to the left. Yes.
You're almost here.
Keep going.
You are here. Wow, you did it.
I'm just so glad I didn't have to use my cane to do this.
And I am so glad no other man got you before me. Let me be your eyes.
We will never stop working to give you a network you can rely on so you can enjoy life's special moments. MTN, everywhere you go.
We are on the road every day, canvassing throughout Africa for news you really need. We follow the story everywhere, from every corner of Nigeria to the wide African expanse. We bring you what's making headlines. We connect you with news you can use. ANN, African News Network, in a truly African spirit.
Welcome back. This is ANN News. French President Emmanuel Macron has offered to support Nigeria's efforts to realize security within its borders and eliminate terrorist organization Boko Haram through securing the Sahel region. Macron, while addressing a joint press conference with his counterpart Muhammadu Buhari, highlighted the cultural aspect of his visit to Africa's biggest economy. Buhari noted that all the countries bordering Nigeria were French-speaking and that France's assistance was therefore essential for the fight against terrorism. Mali's government's ability to secure the July 29 vote has been thrown into question by repeated attacks by Islamist militant groups, violence between rival ethnic groups in the center and north of the West African nation. To this effect, election workers in Mali extended a strike on Tuesday, casting further doubt on an election this month to chart a way out of the 6 years of jihadist violence. A technical advisor at the Ministry of Territorial Administration denied that the strike would affect the elections. Zimbabwean police have arrested 2 suspects over a grenade blast that killed 2 and injured many at a rally for President Emmerson Mnangagwa last month. Reports say Mnangagwa suspect dissidents from his own party were responsible for what he called an assassination attempt. Police authorities say they have picked up 2 suspects and were looking for others. Mnangagwa told the news agency last month that he believed the attack had been carried out by a faction in the ruling party that wanted Mugabe to be succeeded by his wife Grace. Civil servants in Equatorial Guinea have been banned from making foreign trips without authorization from President Theodorin Nguema Obiang. Reports say reason for the ban has not been spelt out, although it comes on the heels of a crackdown following an attempted coup last December. The measure applies to both official and personal travel. Theodorin Nguema Obiang has ruled a small oil-rich state since 1979. He has since seen off at least half a dozen assassination or coup attempts. A woman has been elected mayor of the Tunisian capital, Tunis. It is the first time since the position was created more than a century ago. Reports say Abdurrahim was the candidate for the Islamist party and Nada, one of the partners in Tunisia's coalition government. Many other towns have also elected female mayors in the local election. Analysts say the victory is a milestone as Tunisia is reputed for having more progressive policies around women's rights than its neighbors. Last month's municipal elections were the first since the 2011 uprising, which sparked the Arab Spring. 9 people were reportedly killed and dozens injured after a bus and truck collided earlier today on a busy highway in southeast of Kenya's capital. Reports say the accident resulted in a fire that burnt out both vehicles. Statistics according to World Health Organization say road accidents kill between 3,000 and 13,000 Kenyans every year. Shacks belonging to about 135 people in Cape Town are expected to be demolished, moved and rebuilt on higher grounds. The Cape Town's post-flooding disaster assessment teams moved residents who had built on dry floodplains during the drought in an effort to make it safe for people. Shacks had been built around the pan, and as the rain fell, the dry pan filled with water. And Soda says about 25 people living on the floodplains would be moved en masse to higher ground as soon as the new sites are identified. An Ethiopian opposition politician, Kimfe Michael Debebe, has been released from prison after serving more than 6 years of a 25-year jail term. Kimfe, who was released this morning, said he was arrested in 2011 for organizing a peaceful rally to call for better human rights, freedom of speech and better democratic space. He said the government saw him as a threat and used anti-terror law to throw him into jail. Reports say while Kimfe was in prison, protesters demanded political reforms and an end to human rights abuses and mass arrests. Stay with us. ANN News continues in a moment.
Are you sure you want to do this?
Adam, go and bring us your husband. Okay, hello baby.
We're in this together, okay? Can you hear me? Keep coming forward.
Wait, stop.
You okay, Lizzie? You alright? Keep walking down. Keep walking to the left. Yes.
You're almost here.
Keep going.
You are here. Wow, you did it.
I'm just so glad I didn't have to use my cane to do this.
And I am so glad no other man got you before me. Let me be your eyes.
We will never stop working to give you a network you can rely on so you can enjoy life's special moments. MTN, everywhere you go.
There is a new all-news network on the scene in Nigeria to give news from a purely news perspective and to promote free information flow across Africa. African News Network, ANN, fresh views, unbiased, bold, with a purely African view. Watch ANN News on MITV.
Are you sure you want to do this?
Adam, go and bring us your husband. Okay, hello baby.
We're in this together, okay? Can you hear me? Keep coming forward.
Wait, stop.
You okay, Lizzie? You alright? Keep walking down. Keep walking to the left. Yes.
You're almost here.
Keep going.
You are here. Wow, you did it.
I'm just so glad I didn't have to use my cane to do this.
And I am so glad no other man got you before me. Let me be your eyes.
We will never stop working to give you a network you can rely on so you can enjoy life's special moments. MTN, everywhere you go.
There is a new all-news network on the scene in Nigeria to give news from a purely news perspective and to promote free information flow across Africa. African News Network, ANN, fresh views, unbiased, bold, with a purely African view. Watch ANN News on MITV. ANN, in a truly African spirit.
Welcome back. This is ANN News. In international stories, China is putting pressure on the European Union to issue a strong joint statement against U.S. President Donald Trump as a unified voice against his trade policies. In meetings in Brussels, Berlin and Beijing, senior Chinese officials have proposed an alliance between the two economic powers and offered to open more of the Chinese market to Europe, but the European Union has rejected the idea of allying with Beijing against Washington. Jordanian Foreign Minister Ayman Safadi has said many trucks loaded with relief materials are waiting for permission to supply humanitarian aid to Syria. Safadi said at a news conference in Moscow, Jordan's armed forces are ready to defend the country's interests after artillery from Syria strikes hit Jordanian territory. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov at the same news conference with his Jordanian counterpart Ayman Safadi says Moscow and Washington had agreed that he would meet U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo after President Vladimir Putin's summit with U.S. President Donald Trump later this month. He said his country hopes the Putin-Trump summit would serve as a platform to discuss all issues that trouble U.S.-Russia relations. Southern English town of Salisbury is in the news again. That is where former Russian spy Sergei Skripal and his daughter were poisoned by nerve agent. British police have declared 2 persons in critical condition who may have been exposed to unknown substance in Amesbury, near Salisbury. They said the 2 cities will be cordoned off overnight as a precaution. This is ENN News. We will be back after this break.
Shining our eyes on breaking news, whether in the east or in the west, with Al-Shabaab in Somalia and Boko Haram in Nigeria, with turbulence in the north and agitation in the south. Wherever you live in Nigeria, wherever news happens in Africa, we've got it covered. ANN News, connecting Africans in a truly African spirit. Shining our eyes on breaking news, whether in the east or in the west, with Al-Shabaab in Somalia and Boko Haram in Nigeria, with turbulence in the north and agitation in the south. Wherever you live in Nigeria, wherever news happens in Africa, we've got it covered. ANN News, connecting Africans in a truly African spirit.
Welcome back. This is ENN News. In sports, it's amazing that the World Cup that seemed as if it started yesterday is down to a field of 8. The group stage gave some unbelievable results that never would have been expected. Defending champion ousted, some other favorites, Spain, Argentina and Portugal, defeated. Now we're in the exciting last 8 teams standing, so we all wonder what could happen on Saturday when the quarterfinals are played. The match between Colombia and England on Tuesday night was such a knee-jerker that only penalty kicks resolved the impasse. In the end, England came atop as Colombia nursed its wounds. So we're left with Russia, Sweden, England, Croatia, Uruguay, France, Brazil and Belgium. The way this World Cup has gone so far, it is anybody's guess how the finale to this whole story will be written in the end. That does it for us on ANN News this evening. Thanks for joining us. For details on these and other stories, visit our website annafrica.net and our social media platforms, ANN Africa TV. I am Rotimi Akintunde. Have a pleasant evening.